over and over again.
So that's a C Dorian?
That was the C Aeolian.
C Aeolian, okay.
Sounds great, doesn't it? It's very toneful. So this is the tone control up now. That's quite a voice. And even more so when you turn it off. That's a lot of sustain, actually. It's surprising, going for that woman tone. Great sounding bridge pickup, too. Hey, Ollie, I'm just pulling out this Formula 1 that you lent me here. Just trying it out for the first time. Cleans up nice.
Huh?
It cleans up nice.
Or why don't you run through the lick, the Europa? It's called Europa.
Yep.
What is he? What's the basis of that song?
What do you mean?
Like, what is the structure? What key is he in? And
Oh, okay. Well, I think if I had to say anything about that, because the song came out in the 70s, you know...
is it an original to him?
I think it is. I think that the theme is, for sure. The chord change, of course, is about as classic of a jazz progression as you could possibly get. I think it's very similar to either Autumn Leaves or All the Things You Are, or a combination. Who knows? Those autumn leaves. Right? It's very similar. So basically the same thing over and over again. So it was probably one of my first introductions into the Aeolian mode, quite honestly, because the whole thing is... puts it all in E flat, really. Starting from the sixth, which is the Aeolian mode. I mean, and then it does go to major, so then I remember this thing here. That kind of stuff. Major pentatonic. And, I think the best part about this song is it covers a lot of melody kind of basis. And it's got some great bends, and you need some sustain to get those kind of like... You really have to get some good body happening. So anyway, the melody is kind of based around each one of the chords, obviously, which makes it kind of jazzy. I just have a feeling that Carlos Santana, after Santana folded, which was kind of a Latin rock band, I think that he was interested in hiring a bunch of great players to be in his band, and he did, and these guys were all jazz players. They had jazz education, I would imagine. And I think he was learning a lot of stuff off them, I think, playing with keyboards, and they'll play these chords and say, hey, what do you think of this? And, I think that's what's opened him up a little bit during that era, to playing jazzier type tunes. I don't think he was writing those chord progressions. It was the fellows that he was working with and hired, and he was just trying to figure out how to play over all this stuff. That would be my first assumption.
I've read that he's a huge Miles Davis fan.
Yeah. And Coltrane. I mean, if you see his interviews, he talks a lot about Coltrane and Miles, but throws Hendrix and those guys into the same category ultimately. I mean, I don't know how you can't not be. A big Bola Sete fan as well. Do you know who Bola Sete is? Yeah, Bola Sete is an interesting guy. I think he's a Brazilian guitarist, and his name means 8 ball. No, the 7 ball. It's 7 ball. Bola Sete. Sete is 7, right? So that is the highest scoring point on the billiards table when you finally sink the black ball, which is for 7 points. And that was the nickname he had. His original name is Scott Almeida in there. Almeida. I can't remember his real name. Very Spanishy, very Brazilian, more Portuguese, obviously. But there's some great stuff that Bola Sete did with Vince Guaraldi, who was the guy that did the Peanuts music.
Yeah.
But an accomplished jazz player. So I have a couple of their albums. It's great stuff. I went seriously looking for the Bola Sete. But when I hear it, I'm not thinking that, oh, wow, there's Carlos Santana's obvious influences. The one that, as far as I'm concerned, that nobody seems to want to really point out is that Gabor Szabo was a Hungarian jazz guitar player that, oh my goodness, it's amazing how much Carlos kind of is influenced by him. It's clear. It's crazy. There's some really interesting footage of him with a fantastic band too, Gabor Szabo. There's a video that he put out years ago, it's called Carlos Santana Influences. And he talks about Wes Montgomery. He talks about Gabor Szabo. He talks about Bola Sete. Those are the most specific ones. But then he also put an album out called Live Forever. And he released, because he was apparently collecting a bunch of bootlegs over the years of some of his favorite players. And so he released a CD that had some really cool live performances with Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix doing like I Don't Live Today, Manic Depression live. It's just psycho good. There's some John Coltrane on there. There's some Marvin Gaye live. There's some Steve Ray Vaughan. I think I mentioned that. It's a really great album. Some really good stuff on there. So, I mean, he's not shy to, announce his influences for sure. But as far as all those ones that he mentioned, the one that stands out the most to me is Gabor Szabo. And there's another, it's a song called Midnight Tango by Al Di Meola, which in my opinion is almost a blatant ripoff that Carlos Santana did for his song called Bella. You know, if you listen to the two of them, the melodies are almost freaking identical. And Aldi's came out before his. It was on Elegant Gypsy, I think. Really cool stuff. So I think he was definitely influenced by Aldi. At the same time, you know, what happened was during that era, I mean, like, he would have been kind of, not a rival, but another guy out there that's like, whoa, who's this guy? Sort of a Latino sort of thing going on in a bunch of his material. More Italian.
Al Di Meola, I thought he was American.
He is American, but I think he's still out. Di Meola. I don't know if I would assume that's Italian heritage, right. But you know, he played tons of Spanish music, so you can hear it in his stuff.
So it's in E flat, or is that C minor?
Yeah, it's in relative minor of E flat.
Okay.
Yeah, so the chord change would be. If you want to look at in the key of E flat, the way I would see it is 2, which is the F minor, to B flat dominant, which is the 5 chord, back to E flat, which is the 1, then to the A flat major 7, which is the 4 chord, and then a D minor 7 flat 5, which is a half diminished chord, which is a 2 chord. It's a major 7 chord. In this situation, if you're looking at being in the key of E flat, but what it is, it's a 2-5, it's a minor 2-5 into C minor. So it's a typical 2-5 progression into a minor resolve. So 2 to the 5. And the 1 to the 4, and then a 2 or major 7 to what's a G instead of 3, to a 3 dominant, which is a secondary dominant in the key of E flat, to the C minor.
And that's an Aeolian.
It would be C Aeolian.
C Aeolian.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at in this perspective, you can look at that's the F minor 7, which is the 2 chord of the key of E flat, so you can call it Dorian. The F Dorian.
Okay.
To B flat makes you Lydian. To E flat Ionian or major scale. Yeah. To Lydian. And then you get into kind of a melodic minor sort of a situation here. I mean, you could look at that as Locrian too, as in D Locrian, and then into G dominant, which would be, once again, this is sort of a secondary dominant situation. So I think we'll get into Over My Head, even though I kind of know what to play. It's like the fifth mode of C melodic minor, or C harmonic minor. Yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah, that's just the way I think about it. If there's like just a temporary key change to resolve back to the C minor. You know, if you look at all this as just being an E flat, you could yeah, definitely look at this as just a 3 dominant voicing to get us to the 6 minor. That's usually how. That's usually what type of 5 chord is in a minor setting. It'll be a 5 dominant. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, so anyone that's looking to just be able to play a beautiful melody, something that's surprisingly identifiable by the average person. If you said, "Have you ever heard this?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that totally rings a bell." You know, this. They will know what it is. They can almost probably whistle it or sing it for you.
So what?
But they have no clue who it is. They don't know that it's Carlos Santana. They just know they've heard it somewhere. But I don't think it's just because it was the Santana thing they heard. I think it's because it's such a common chord progression that they've heard in jazz places. It's a very.
It just sounds very natural.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So just play the main theme.
Mm-hmm. I'll try to do it without any tone off. Right. So that was kind of when it goes to major there for a sec, right? And then into. I'm not sure about that lick. I have to work that one out a little bit better, but it resolves there. And then it goes into like a C section. Oh, sorry. Right? Something like that. So there's really only like 3 parts, maybe 4 parts when it goes into the double time coda. Which is just the 1 chord and the 4 chord in minor. So it's C minor. You could look at it this way. You could look at it as being the 6 chord to the 2 chord. 2. If we're looking at that as the 1 chord, like 1 minor, which is probably the more logical way to look at it in this setting, at this point, at least in the song, you're kind of going 1 minor to 4 minor. You know, there's 2 different ways to look at it. The way I see it, learn them both. They both make sense to each other. You know, you can call it what you want, but it's just a sound that you're trying to understand and become fluent with, and recognize it when you hear it and know what to play over it. But it just comes from surfing the waves over and over again.
So that's a C Dorian?
That was the C Aeolian.
C Aeolian, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've asked the same question a couple of times. This shows me that maybe there's a little confusion as to how that works. But is that true, or not to call you out or anything?
I'm actually not familiar with the modes, but
There you go.
but I understand. How you arrive at them with the key and the diatonic chords, and each one has a mode. You're basic. I understand that, but I just don't know the name. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just something that requires the memory power, so or association to
just sitting down and look at them and learning them,
just to get it solidified.
Yeah.
Really, I think one of the really easiest things to remember in any situation with modes, if someone says, "Hey, do you know this mode?" Really, there's just one very important thing that you need to remember: is if the mode is a major mode, like Ionian, Mixolydian, or Lydian. That's the wrong order. Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian. So the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord. Those inherently have a major pentatonic scale built into them.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're a 7-note scale, and there's already 5 free notes that they give you. So you can get 5 of the notes right, and then you have to go find the other 2 that are unique to each one, because they're not all the same. So if you think of the formula for a major pentatonic, it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, so that means we skipped over a 4 and we skipped over a 7. So you have to go find what type of 4 it is and what type of 7 it is, depending on which one you're on. In the Ionian scale, it's just a regular 4 and regular 7. Now you have all the notes of the major scale: 1, 2, 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and that is 7th, and back to the root. And the Lydian will be exactly the same. It'll be 1, 2, 3, but then there's an augmented 4th, sharp 4. And then a regular 5, a regular 6, a regular 7, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, sharp 4. So that's the only thing. It's just a major scale with a sharp 4. It looks identical, almost, and just got that one note that's different. And the Mixolydian, the only difference with it is it has a flat 7. Just the only thing that's different from a major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, root.
So the Mixolydian's based on the 4th. The
5.
The 5 chord.
Yeah, the 4 chord is the Lydian.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the same applies to the minor chords as well. So if you're on a 2 chord, a 3 chord, or a 6 chord in the sequence, then you're dealing with the Dorian mode on the 2 chord, the Phrygian mode on the 3 chord, and the Aeolian scale for the 6 chord. All 3 of those are minor, so they inherently have the minor pentatonic built into them. So once again, they give you free notes. They give you 5 free notes. One, like there's these people that are anointing us, but you are given. They're there. 1 minor third, a 4, a 5, and a flat 7. Those are your inherent notes. They're just already there. So you can at least bank on those. So then you have to figure, what did we miss? In a 1, a flat 3, a 4, a 5, a flat 7, clearly we went over a 2. So you need to determine what type of 2 is in this new scale, and you need to determine what type of 6th is in this scale, because there's no 2s, there's no 6th in a minor pentatonic scale. But as soon as you add the appropriate 2 or the appropriate 6, they will spell out the rest of your... So really, you're just playing minor pentatonic scales with a couple of peripheral notes that are different each time. Right. So in the Dorian, these are just good formulas to remember. If you already know the formula for, and definitely you know the pattern for a minor pentatonic, it's one of the first things we all learn, and the pattern for a major pentatonic, you should know that too. Yeah. And then you should be able to target the 4 or the 6 the 4 or the 7th in the major pentatonic, and the 2 and the 6 in the minor pentatonic. You should be able to find just the natural 2, or the major 2nd and the major 6th, the ones that occur naturally, and decide is that appropriate? Is that what we're looking for? Do they belong in the scale? You know, they really all that's what it all comes down to. Just got to know what the notes are in the scale, because that's all you're doing is just playing the notes in the scale anyway. There's no surprises. You're always going to be dealing with the same 7 notes.
Yeah, but you're at a
so if you know,
but you're at a stage where you're relying on your ears.
No, both. It's definitely a balance of both. You know, I'm just at this point. I just know the notes that are in the key, and then I can rely on my ear. Sure, yeah. Not have to worry so much about what mode I'm in or what scale applies.
You're not really the name Dorian doesn't pop into your head while you're playing. You're playing. So is Dorian the 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just know you relative to the key center where you are at.
Well, I also know it's a minor chord. I know it's like, let's say we're in the key of G. I know that A minor is the 2 chord, and I know that, geez, an A minor pentatonic will work great. It'll sound rooted on the A, which is like really identifying, like, hey, I know where I'm at. I'm on the 2 chord. A minor, well, an A is going to work great, so I'll play an A.
So and you know that it's a flat 7 and a flat 3rd. You know where that is all the time.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
it's already in there because it's part of the minor pentatonic. We're not getting into the color tones that really start to describe the essence of the mode, you know.
But then you want to start playing around and using some chromatics or something like that. But you have your basis.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I really can't ever forget when Fareed Haq told me this. I was angry at him actually when he said it to me. Like, fuck yourself, buddy, because I'd been to a bunch of the Garage Mahal shows. If you don't know who Fareed Haq is, he's from Garage Mahal, and he played with like Chick Corea and Sting. He played with Sting, and he was a professor at the University of Illinois in the music department. And I'd lent him a few pieces of equipment when they would come up to Vancouver, and I knew the guys that put on the show, the promoters. And I was just anxious to just get a quick lesson off him or something like that. I was like, man, I just love these Indian scales or whatever you're using. They just sound so great. And he's like, Todd, there are no scales. And I was like, what, man? You've been hanging out with these hippies too long, man. But honestly, it's really it's really quite that simple. There's just the notes, and you can play the notes that are in the scales, and they still work. They're outside, and they can sound obtuse and out of place possibly to the average person. It sounds too dissonant or too unacceptable. But so they're still there, and they're still super usable. So when you start thinking about melodic ideas, because then once you've mapped out and you know where they're supposed to be, then you're good. But having those other notes at your fingertips and knowing that you can use them for tension effect or just being kind of snooty.
The sharp 5 is a easy one to incorporate.
To target.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's a flat 6 too, right? Depending how you want to look at it. So,
right.
It's a funny thing because you look at the Aeolian mode that we just did. It has a sharp 5. It's actually a flat 6. Like we got this is the Aeolian in the key of C from the tune that I just did, Europa. So root 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. Flat 7 root. The two of the notes together sound identical. You can call it what you want. We call it a flat 6 or a sharp 5. It's still the same relationship to its root note. Only time we're going to call it a sharp 5 is assuming that it's the only 5 that's in this tune, and then there's going to be a form of a 4 and a form of a 6 included. You don't really invade each other's territory. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff for sure. I mean, I don't know all about it, but I don't think I'm talking shit right now. I hope I'm not talking shit because I'm super embarrassing myself. But that's okay because I don't lay claim to I know all this stuff inside.
No product placement.
Yeah.
Drink mini Pepsi. I can't believe how big you are. That can looks tiny in your.
Look like Andre the Giant, don't I?
You're a huge dude. Should set you up with a tiny can of Coke and a tiny guitar.
Have you seen the pictures of Andre the Giant holding a beer can?
No.
And it's just like you can't even see it. It's just it's hilarious. Cool guitar, man. Cheapy, but a goodie. Hondo. I don't know about you, but I thought that sounded pretty damn good.
Sounds awesome.
You know, it's got a bound body. It's got a carved top. I mean, come on. Getting that these days for $300, not gonna happen.
And you think it's a Fender scale?
I know it is. Absolutely certain. Looking at it right now. Well, and also it's only got the 21 frets.
Right.
Excuse me. So there's that too. Yeah. Kind of prefer speed knobs. The ones that are tapered like this aren't my favorite, but whatever.
They look cool, but you're just saying they're not as functional.
Yeah, I just prefer them when they just seem to like roll off the hand a lot easier.
Right.
For some reason.
But these ones look cool.
You think so? I actually kind of like the look of the other ones, but yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Are they missing the tops? Is that what it is?
What do you mean?
To the knob, is there a little plastic top missing there? Or that's how it is?
That's just how it is.
Oh. They look cool. Oh, they got a transparent top.
Yeah.
That's a great guitar.
I agree.
And I love the, I mean, if I was to get a Les Paul, it would be that burst. It would be that orange.
Yep. You call it a clown burst?
I like to call it that.
It's just the two-tone berry burst, isn't it?
Yeah, and they did it on the headstock too.
Yep.
But no, there's some really
touch.
There's some really obnoxious ones that they call clown burst.
Why is that? Just because it's just too up the top?
It's just poorly done. Yeah, it just looks.
So, well, I because there was a bunch of copies that they were putting out, I forget, and just the very questionable bursts. So, like, guys, really, there's no real attempt to like blend it. It's just.
I'm talking about like
black, red.
I'm talking about like a real Les Paul, like a real Gibson.
Oh yeah.
And they just had some examples that were kind of like really strange. You know, that color combination, but just either poorly done or just something happened in the factory. And I think they're kind of desirable now because they're so goofy looking.
Interesting. I'm not surprised.
That guy, the Trogley guy, probably has an episode on it or something.
There's a lot of goofies out there, man. The goofies got to get their goofy guitars.